Hello, everybody. I'm going to get us started today. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your day to attend today's webinar. My name is Joshua Martinez, and I'm the Business Development Manager at ALTIUS. We are excited to host the first in a series of upcoming webinars. Before I bring on Dr. Amanda Nanasy, I wanted to introduce our President and COO, Mr. Rich Jeffries. Go ahead.
Thanks, Joshua. Like Joshua, I want to thank everyone for your time this evening. Very excited to have Dr. Nanasy as our speaker. I'm confident, really confident actually, that you'll hear significant ways you can expand your practice and also offer your patient not only enhanced treatment options, but I think impactful or positive impacts on quality of life. I've spent almost 20 years working closely with optometrists and eye care professionals worldwide. Like you, I've seen many changes during those years. But one constant is this. All the optometrists and eye care professionals I've met globally, they've entered this profession as a result of the desires to not only change vision, but I think also to know that in the process, they're also changing the quality of life for their patients. I believe that. I've seen that. And I felt it. So first and foremost, what is our mission? I'll keep it real simple. Our mission, our commitment is always to put your practice and your patients first. No secret, the optometry profession, right, has come under some increased pressures, like to continue to grow your practice and retain patients. I want to stress, and I think this is one of the true benefits besides the obviously the positive impact on vision and quality of life, is if you decide to integrate our lenses into your practice, we'll invest the time and efforts necessary to ensure success for you and your eye care team. Also, the time, the efforts, and the skills you share with your patients, they're not going to be lost to some online entity because our lenses aren't offered online. They're only offered to you, and private professionals or practices. Finally, I believe if you do, in fact, take the opportunity to integrate our lenses, will not only change and expand your practice, but I think once you learn more about them, you'll agree, it'll change the quality of life for your patients. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joshua, who will introduce a true visionary in the optometry profession. Joshua?
Allow me to introduce to you Dr. Amanda Nanasy, a visionary in the field of eye care. She stands as the co-owner of the Eye Care Center of Pembroke Pines and serves as director of the distinguished Florida Institute of Sports Vision. Dr. Nanasy's primary focus lies in sports vision assessment and training, where she assists athletes in optimizing their visual performance. Her expertise also extends to neurooptometric rehabilitation after concussions, significantly contributing to the recovery and well-being of countless individuals. Dr. Nanasy is a trusted team physician for renowned sports organizations such as the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, and Inter Miami, current home of Leonardo Messi for all you soccer fans. She also works with NCAA programs, including her alma mater, the University of Central Florida, where she continues to make a profound impact. In addition to her extensive work, Dr. Nanasy is a vital member of the concussion care team at Holy Crosses Hospital's Sports Medicine Department, emphasizing her commitment to the well-being of her patients. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Amanda Nanasy.
Hey, thank you for that kind introduction. And I'll tell you that you already have a little bit of background about me there, but I did want to share with you before we get started with the webinar, my professional goal, because it's the reason why I'm speaking for ALTIUS today. My professional goal is to make it to where sports vision is not a niche. You're always going to have that tertiary level of care where people are doing high-level training with athletes that maybe you are not comfortable doing at your private practice. But in general, you have the tools that you need to be able to treat so many athletes. And what we've learned is just that sometimes the athletes don't know you can help them. The other types of physicians, their medical care providers, don't know that you can help them the way that you can. And sometimes even the optometrists don't realize what we can do to reach out and not only help them in each of their personal ways, but expand our practice. And so that's my goal, is that by the time I retire, I'm going to have doctors out there that are all partnered. I don't want any athletes hitting a ball in any type of organized sport without first having an eye exam. And as sexy as performance vision has kind of gotten over the past years, as you log in to Instagram and see different pro athletes standing on balls and juggling Hiko sticks with strobes on, anybody can go online and buy those tools and think that they're doing what they need to do to help their visual performance. But there's no way that they can get ALTIUS lenses without first seeing you. And that is why I think that ALTIUS is going to help us build this bridge and really grow this as something that our profession is owning. So with that, let's get started. Should I make the noise? Ding. So here are my objectives for this webinar. And I do want to tell you that this webinar is being recorded and is going to be able to be shared as a resource that ALTIUS is giving to providers. You'll notice that I'm not really even going to talk about ALTIUS a lot until the end of the presentation, because they have several different lectures that various docs are going to be doing. And mine is really here to answer the question that I get asked the most, which is, how do I go out and partner with different teams, different providers, different clubs? And I'm going to give you the cookbook for it. So we're going to start with why you should have this not so specialty of sports and performance vision. And then we're going to talk about kind of like the crash course of how to physically go out and make those connections, which I feel like that's the big mystery for a lot of people. So I'm going to break that down. You will leave this webinar with homework. So make sure that you have something ready to write things down, or else take pictures of the screen. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about how to integrate with TBI, concussion, and recovery. I'll tell you that there is another webinar coming that's going to focus more on concussion. So I'm going to use the majority of my time on helping you grow your footprint in your community with your athletes. Ring. All right, so a lot of people want to know what my day-to-day looks like. And I'll tell you that at this point, if I'm in the office 5 days a week, 2 days I see regular comprehensive patients, 2 days I see specialty patients, which could be sports patients or concussion patients, or a combination of the two. And then that last day is kind of my float, where I might go from one team or Holy Cross Hospital. But this is on a performance day, what it might look like. So let's say I get there, and let's start at 8 a.m. So I might have a concussion follow-up to see how my patient's doing in their new anti-fatigue lenses. What you're going to learn through these webinars, if you don't already know, is one of the most common things that happens after a concussion is people have issues with their accommodation, their focusing system, or their vergence system. They're very often light sensitive, and you don't always have to do a lot of really fancy things. Sometimes I might just give them a pair of anti-fatigue lenses or a little bit of prism. So first patient, I'm checking in to see how they're doing. Second patient, let's see my action pistol shooter. This was actually somebody that I saw several months ago for the first time, that I'm continuing to see for training at this point. But he is in his 50s, so a presbyope that needs to be able to see not only in the distance, but up close. So sometimes they need help with contacts that they didn't know that they were able to use. So we've got him in one lens and one eye that's dramatically improved his performance, and we're following up on him. Next patient, medical follow-up for an athlete who had conjunctivitis and has been out of his contact lenses. Do not take for granted that there are teams around you, be it high school or local whatevers, that have red eyes, show up, and everyone runs like they have the plague. Because I don't know if that guy's supposed to maybe be in my locker room. I don't know if he's going to get everyone else sick. So remember that when you reach out to people saying, I can help your patients, I can help your athletes, you need to talk about these basic things like that we treat red eyes to. Next patient, 9:30. So this actually has happened probably 5 times. I've had the athletic trainer send me a text and say, so-and-so was snapped with one of the resistance bands in the face. So that's your basic run-of-the-mill blunt force trauma, depending on how bad it was. But that falls under sports vision as well. 10 o'clock, new comprehensive. It might be wide receiver because I went and did a performance vision evaluation and saw a whole bunch of players and said, you know what, your wide receiver has never had an eye exam. Maybe we can make him better. So it might just start with a regular comprehensive. 10:30, maybe this is one of my specialty full sports vision evaluations. It's usually an hour block. It's usually because I saw them for a comprehensive and then saw the need to do further testing for them. And then 11:30, maybe I run over to Inter Miami because I have a contact lens follow-up. This actually happened to me just a few days ago where I saw patients in one place, then had to go just check on a contact lens. And of course, that's going to include a report that I have to give to the coaches as to what we did and why. And the funny thing that happened here actually is I speak some really poor, broken Spanish, living in Miami for all these years. But I wasn't ready for the text from the head trainer that said, the trainers want, or the coaches want, a full report on how you're treating the player, ... in Spanish. So that required some help from actually one of my associates to screen what I put together because it was kind of like an IKEA catalog of Spanish, just really poorly translated. So the next click, what's going to happen is it's going to circle all of those things that you could probably do in your office tomorrow, right? With the exception of maybe the concussion follow-up that you're not comfortable yet, or the full sports eval. You could look at this and say, I can do exactly what she's doing. And that's why we're going to teach you how to go out and do it. Next slide. So these are the things that performance vision includes. Go ahead and click through these. So we've got your regular comprehensive eye exams are on there. We've got our medical care. We've got our glasses for near work and watching film. Don't take for granted that even though someone might not need correction in the distance, you're dealing with student athletes that need to be able to see up close. You might be dealing with coaches that have panic moments when they realize that they can't see up close anymore and they think it's a horrible medical condition, but really they just have presbyopia. You could have eyewear for sport specific, meaning like rec specs, different type of goggles that they could wear, protective eyewear. You could have specialty contact lenses for patients that have never been able to wear contacts before. You could potentially do vision training. And then of course, regular contacts. They come in for regular contacts and then you change their world when you have other options for them specifically for their sport. That's pretty much what all those bullets said. So we got it still. You can go to the next slide. All right, so why would we want to specialize or partner with the teams? Maybe these are obvious, but I at least want to just call it out in case somebody said, you know what, I really don't think I need to do this. Maybe I just am on this webinar because I want to know just what those tinted lenses are about, but I want to tell you this is why you need to go out and build more partnerships for people that are interested in these lenses. So you're going to gain access to give care to people that may have not received it otherwise. And it is never short of, it's amazing to me the amount of money that parents will spend on a bat for a kid or for all of these lessons and training for this golf kid that is on scholarships and has done so amazing, but yet they only see well out of one eye and not the other one. And the amount of changes that you can do by just giving people that full correction it's fantastic. And again, that's why we need to spread that information. They need to come to us. You can improve their visual performance, which of course you could have somebody get scholarships they wouldn't have otherwise. And then you can also potentially have a safety benefit for them as well. I had a wide receiver that I always talk about that was at a really elite program, really high level high school program. And I saw him only because he had had a concussion. He saw 20/20 out of one eye and he was 20/60 out of the other eye. And he'd never had an eye exam. And every time he was tested, right, his screening, athletes want to do well. So TZVECL, TZVECL, no one knew he couldn't see. And of course, he got basically a blindside hit. So that is an impetus for me to go to that program and say, hey, I just saw your wide receiver. We've not only helped him recover quicker, but we've got him in a contact lens. Now he can see well out of both eyes, which improves his depth perception. Hopefully there won't be another concussion in his near future. And I bet he's probably going to make more receptions. Is there a way that I can see if any of your other wide receivers are in the same situation that he was? And so on. It grows from there. Go ahead. What else is up there? Safety of players. Go ahead. So I am very different than, so Keith Smithson, he basically takes care of all of the teams in the DC area. And he and I differ because I like to partner with teams by starting with a trade for marketing. He works with a lot of pro teams, which is obviously very different. I have 2 pro teams and a ton of high schools and colleges that I work with. My number one way to approach them is for a trade for marketing, because I want to get those athletes in my chair for a comprehensive eye exam. And I want to be able to have my information out there for everyone to see, so I can also get more patients other than the ones that I'm seeing on the team. So if you want to talk about really getting a great source of referrals, this is one of the reasons why you partner as well. And when you have that one player that you help, I mean, sometimes that's all it takes. You might not even need to go to the athletic training staff. You might just have patients showing up because they were on the team with the person that you helped. And that happens so often, I cannot even tell you. And it's a great thing because they're not going to come and see you unless someone else had a fantastic report on how they did with you. And of course, I love what I do. The fact that I can help kids reach their goals, sometimes get into schools that they never thought that they'd be able to get into. And then when we fill out those MLB scouting reports and we see people get drafted, it's fantastic to be a part of that picture. And in the small sense, starting, you're just doing a great thing for your community. All right, so what's next? I told you there was going to be homework. So this is actually how you start actually putting your pen to paper and deciding what you're going to do. So you're going to make your list. And if you haven't already done this, this is what you do. You need to find out who your targets are. So you're literally just going to, well, write down the ones you already know, I guess, but then you're going to Google these potential targets for your practice, because I can almost guarantee that there are different places that you could approach in your community than you even realize were there. So I would say pick your favorite sport, or the sport that you have a connection with, or a sport that you played when you were growing up, whatever it is, and start there. Travel baseball, travel volleyball. There are going to be several of those in most communities. You can also look for academies. If you have high schools and you have travel baseball leagues, there is very likely a hitting coach there, some sort of a baseball academy that you can approach. And again, I'm just saying baseball because that's the one that I have listed there, but name it, pick your sport. You can look up golf, right? Because golfers are going to have not only a wide variety of needs, but you're going to see a wide variety of patients there. And again, as someone that has a kid that golfers will pay any amount of money for a club that'll give them an extra 20 yards on their drive. And then you find out, oh, wait, what are you wearing when you're playing? All kinds of things that you can do to help them. Maybe you're interested in helping out MMA, boxing. Of course, there might be a concussion link there for you to work with those athletes. And then just looking up sports performance centers. So you're likely going to find a lot of targets here. So you're going to have to whittle them down, put them in order of who you think is either going to be your best target or who you want to approach first. And then you'll have to move on to homework number 2. So your second assignment, let's say that you picked your one target. For me, there was a target that I had in my community for years that previously I approached and I was unsuccessful with, but I kept seeing their athletes because they were referred to me by the Concussion Center because I was only seeing them after injuries. A few years later, they have a new athletic director, and I'm like, let's start again. So go ahead and click the button and let's see that assignment. So you have to find your best contact person. And I cannot stress this enough. If you just cold call them, there is no telling who you're going to end up talking to. And if you talk to the wrong person and get a no, you're really shutting the door on yourself, because you're not going to want to keep approaching them, because again, you have something that they want, that they need, that they don't know that they need. And especially if you're approaching a really big program, everyone wants a piece of them. They're getting called by every gimmicky weightlifting equipment and sock, you name it. People are trying to sell them things. So you need to be able to differentiate yourself. But if you don't have the right contact person to get your foot in the door, it's not going to happen. So I can definitely appreciate that this might seem a little bit creepy, right? Because I'm like, you got to look them up and see who you're going to be reaching out to. FYI, I put LinkedIn on there. If you look up on someone, if you look someone up on LinkedIn, they will be able to see potentially that you searched them or you looked at their bio. So you might even want to have like an anonymous LinkedIn profile for you to be able to look at people, so they're not like, why were they scoping me out? So for me, going back to that team, I knew that they had a new athletic director. I knew that they had 3 athletic trainers that were all fairly new to the program. So I knew I was going to be reaching out to one. I was given a little bit of a cold handoff from our, not even a cold, I should say it was a warm handoff from the neuropsychologist that I work with, who sent a mass message to the athletic director and to the 3 trainers saying, reintroducing you to Dr. Nanasy, who's worked with X, Y, or Z. She'd be a great resource for you guys to work with. So I said, which one am I going to look at? Guess what? One of the athletic trainers, fresh out of school, not a whole lot of experience. One of them worked with a program that I really couldn't find any connections with. But the third one, turns out that they came from a program that I knew had previously worked with an eye care provider. They came from another state, but I was able to find that out. So I said, that's my contact person, and that's who I reached out to. So find out their information, and you need to figure out what your pitch is going to be. You might only have a little bit of time, and you need to figure out your most comfortable way to do it. Are you going to do it by phone? Are you going to call them? Are you going to email them? Because you're like, I might get tongue tied. I might not be able to get everything out there. But again, if you're going to email it, you got to craft it to where it's not needy. It's you helping them. Whatever it is, you work on the pitch. There's actually a book called Pitch Anything that I'm a really big fan of. It has nothing to do with eye care, and really nothing to do with sports, even though it's called Pitch Anything. It's about it's like a marketing guy that tells you how you sell what it is that you are trying to get across to make people want what you're pitching them. It's a really good audiobook that you can listen to in the car as well. And then you need to find out, what are you going to do it for? Are you going to do a trade for marketing? Are you going to offer them just reduced services? Are you going to offer that you're going to come to them? Are they going to come to you? Do you want to partner with their team or just do those individual exams? These are all the things you need to figure out before you reach out. All right, go to the next slide. All right, so there's more homework. This is your last homework assignment, actually. So before you get off the line, because you're like, what is all of this homework? So your outreach, your hook, like I said, you have to have a really convincing hook. You have to get your message where it's nice and compact, gets their attention, they want more, and you have to have a next step action. Don't leave it as like if you send an email, so we could do great things, hope to hear from you. You know, it needs to be, I'd love to be able to come and meet with you and educate your athletic training team. But again, don't just leave it there. Do you guys do lunch and learns? I usually have most availability on Monday and Thursday. Let me know if this works for you. How would you like to follow up? Really make sure that there's an action step there. And like I said, don't sell like you're selling something. And definitely offer that availability to them come to you or you to go to them, which I usually find is best. Next slide. So when I've always been looking to reach out to these teams, you have to figure out, depending on who you're contacting, what the hook is going to be for them. If you are dealing with a baseball program, performance, you might be able to talk about how you can get more players on base if they have better depth perception, better ball tracking, those types of skills. If you're approaching a soccer program, you might want to talk about how improved visual acuity and visual performance can reduce the likelihood of injuries. You might want to talk about a specific product, new technology that's come out that you're not sure if they're aware of, because you know other teams in the area are starting to adapt some of these technologies. This is one of the reasons why ALTIUS could be one of your best friends here, because a lot of the people that are involved in these teams were around when Nike Max Sight was around, and they know that there was like a tinted orangey or red lens that everybody loved, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. So you could even say, and again, it does so much more than just, you know, sunglasses for contact lens sunglass. But if that's the verbiage that you feel comfortable with, instead of saying a light mitigating lens, it enhances contrast sensitivity and reduces chromatic aberrations. Like, don't be an eye doctor. Don't talk over their head. Use lingo they know and say something like this. Go to the next slide. Well, you could stay there. I'm going to give you a little pitch. Okay. So when I called up my athletic trainer, Sharonda, from this school, I said, hey, it's Dr. Nanasy. Is this a good time? Do you have a few minutes to chat? And she said, yes. Awesome. I know that you're aware that I saw Jalen a couple weeks ago. We were able to help him out a lot with some really easy, quick fixes. You may not know that even though he passed the screening that you guys did beautifully, he actually wasn't seeing well out of one eye. So with the help of just an eye exam, I got him in a contact lens, and now he's able to not only see better out of that eye, but his eye-hand reaction time is a little bit better, and I expect him to play better on the field. Have you noticed any changes since he's been back? And, you know, she said, oh, yeah, we have. The coaches actually asked, you know, like what it is that he did. And then I said, well, there are a lot of ways that we can not only test visual skills, but improve and enhance visual skills. And I have a feeling that you probably have some other players that might be able to benefit from these things. And it's something that I know a lot of the athletic trainers that I've worked with before have been really happy to learn about, because there are even things that you can do with the team to enhance these skills that I can help teach you. Do you guys do any lunch and learns or anything like that at your program? And you know, sometimes we have people come in. Well, I have some time next Wednesday. I have a block right on Have Patience. I'd be happy to come in. I can bring like a sandwich tray or something or whatever you guys want. And I can do kind of like an informal presentation, answer your questions, and just kind of let you know how you can help to integrate vision into your program to not only improve performance, but maybe just keep your players safer. I would have loved to kept this guy from getting hurt to begin with. Is that something that you guys have availability for? Something like that, NC. And that can vary in so many different ways. I'll give you another pitch. Like maybe if you are cold calling someone, I'm saying cold calling, but again, you did all of your homework, you know who you're talking to, and then you finally got them on the phone. And I would say something like, hey, how are you doing? I'm Dr. Nanasy. I'm a doctor in Pembroke Pines, and I work with a lot of athletes. And there is a new technology that just came out that it's kind of like a sunglass lens contact. And I found that my players that really like these lenses the most are my catchers and my pitchers, because they can't wear sunglasses, you know, when they're on the field. And I noticed that, you know, you guys have a lot of the guys on your team that are wearing sun protection, and I'd like to be able to help out your other guys to be able to have something that they can use as well, since you're obviously playing in situations where it would be beneficial. They're pretty cool. I actually have them in prescription and without prescription. So I could even swing by next week, and I have some diagnostic lenses that I can give to you guys so you can try them out yourself. I'm talking about the athletic trainers, right? You want to get the lenses on the athletic trainers, and then you guys can kind of see if you're interested in maybe having the other guys on the team test them out. I know you have a hitting coach as well as a performance coach. Obviously, they're welcome to join us. Anybody can, but just let me know and I'd love to come out, something like that. You have something that they want. Again, they just don't know that they want it. And if you can help them out, if you can even propose that I would love to show these to the athletic training team. By the way, don't call them trainers. They are athletic trainers or certified athletic trainers, ATCs. Just don't say trainer. Okay, that's like a big like faux pas. I'd love to show your sports med team what these lenses are like, so then you guys can decide if you want to introduce them to the coaching staff. Make them a part of the decision. Make them the ones that are actually bringing something into the team, adding something to the puzzle, and usually those athletic trainers will be your best friends. And I would say probably 7 out of 10 times they're my number one contact. Sometimes I'm dealing with coaches, especially if they've been in our clinic and we get to educate them. Sometimes you have a player that is then their parents come in, and then the parents are like, oh, I'm on the whatever committee, the parents and parents, whatever it is, and we would like you to come in and talk to our team. But again, work on your pitch, make it fluid, make it easy, make them want what you have. All right, next slide. All right, so after you meet with them, obviously you have to have all of your materials together. So let's say that they show up to your practice and you're giving them a tour, or you go there, you have to have a package ready. Don't leave it as this like mysterious, we could work together thing. I would have folders ready that have your logos, and this is another story, but I would do something that's branded. Don't look like it's not on this slide, it's on one of my other ones. I'm like, don't be like the Pepsi guy. If you saw that commercial where it's like the worst nerd armchair quarterback and he's like an eye doctor, you want to come in and let them know that you work with athletes, that you're a performance center. So have your branded card. I would definitely give them your personal information. I would definitely make sure that you remember who you talked to and where they were from, which is why when you're establishing your list of contacts, don't reach out to like 10 people at once, because the last thing you want is for multiple people to call you back and you don't know what team they're from, and then they think you're just soliciting to everyone. Have a brochure maybe that offers your services or explains like, these are the things that we test in a performance vision evaluation. Don't call it a screening. Screenings are, you know, done a dime a dozen and sometimes don't produce great results, and you're trying to show that you're better than a screening. So performance vision assessment is what you're going to do for them. Or you could offer them to come in and just do comprehensives in some way if you partner. Have a sample assessment ready. So if you were to come in and set up stations and do performance vision evals with you and your team, what would that report look like? Would you generate a personal report for each player? Would you generate one big giant report that says, these are the players that need comprehensive eye exams. These are the ones that could benefit from contact lenses. These are the ones that are probably not performing at their best because they need glasses in class because they're 1.5 hyperopes and they've never had correction or something like that. Also concussion baselines, just do an NPC on them. It is such a savior when they actually get injuries. And then you have to have your options for the partnerships, whether it is you come in and do this courtesy performance vision evaluation that is valued at this amount. You have to know that. So maybe your performance eval is X amount, but when you come in and do it for a whole team, it's reduced by this amount, and then you do it times this many players. Even if you're not charging them dollars, you have to have a value associated with it, because if you're doing a trade for marketing deal, they have to know what the value of your services are, right? So go on to the next slide. So I say repeat because these are the things that you're going to have to keep telling yourself over and over. If you try and it doesn't happen right off the bat, try again. Just because you build it does not mean they will come, right? And remember, it's something that they don't know that they want. They don't know that they need it. And that's what you're selling. And then you may be a great doctor, but if you cannot be a great communicator, you have to be just as excited about what you're selling as you want them to be. So you have to bet. Like when I go in with my ALTIUS lenses, I'm not like, these lenses are really cool because they're kind of like sunglasses and anybody can wear them. It's really great because when you put them on a catcher, right, they can pull off their mask and look up into the sun without losing the ball, right? Like I'm going to be like, let's put these on you. You're not going to believe how great you're going to see in these. And talk about the success that you've had. And again, you have to be enthusiastic and excited. And some people it doesn't come easy. Some people it does. It's easy for me because I talk about things that I love. Don't be the Pepsi guy. You have to look up that commercial. I should have put it in the deck. And you have to have a brand to be a part of that you want people to talk about. Maybe I could have just said, go see Dr. Nanasy at the Eye Center, but Florida Institute of Sports Vision, spoiler alert, it is the same building. It is in the same place. It is a subsidiary. I have one room in there that has a logo on it. And it's where I do my vision training, but it's the same place. It's all over my cards. It's all over my website. You can go to floridasportsvision.com and it is a part of the Eye Center website, but we are branded to say we help athletes. So build that. If you're not familiar, go to Fiverr.com and they will build you a logo for super cheap. All you have to do is tell them what you want and then bam, you're ready to brand. What else? The reminder that, they want what you have. They just don't know. And they will pay dollars for it. Don't be afraid of selling them something that is not super cheap. I know you're not putting athletes in anything but daily disposables, right? Because you should not be. Because if a lens falls out on the field, you need to be able to say, don't put it back in, don't look for it. By the way, your athletic trainers are supposed to have a kit with all of the players' contact lenses in it as backups. Because did you know that one of your guys is a -4? And if his lens falls out, he is not legal to drive a car. Like he's super blurry. So make sure you have backups because sometimes high school athletes are not the best at keeping what they need in their bag, but you can have it for them. All right, next slide. Where are we at on time? So here is more about the lenses specifically. And of course, I'm sure that the ALTIUS team is going to have really great information that you could use. Because again, you might go in with a PowerPoint slide to show them. You might not. You might just go in with materials. But this is some of the information that you might be able to share with them. It's very slick, cool marketing stuff too. Next slide. And like I said, it is a daily disposable, which is huge. There was another lens on the market that I was using that I was not a big fan of because it wasn't a daily. And I preach daily disposables. And then I'm like, oh, except this one. So you get to stick with what you're already preaching here. So I'm going to be super weird and put these on for you. So so I have the ALTIUS Amber here because everybody wants to know what it looks like, right? So how well will this work? So this is roughly what the tint looks like. And when you put it in, sorry, I have other lenses in, so let me just switch out my clear ones. When you put it in, one of the really cool things about this product is that it does its own marketing too, because it's really obvious. So especially with my blue eyes, I actually wore one of these on Halloween as well. So you put this in and you get this instant change in what everything looks like. And when I have an athlete that I'm putting this on for the first time, or one of my coaches or my athletic trainers, I always put one in first. And the reason for that is because I want them to understand the difference between when you have it on and you don't have it on. So first they'll be like, oh, everything looks kind of yellowish, like it's kind of weird, because of course they have one regular one and one not. But I'll say, let's go outside. And what I want you to do is I want you to cover up the eye that does not have the lens on. and then let's go outside. So they'll go outside, and you have to tell them, don't look at the sun, because they're going to be like, oh, look, I can stare right at the sun, right? So they can look with the lens on, and I'll say, okay, go ahead and switch eyes and cover the other eye. And their response will 90% of the time be, oh, and they'll back up and they'll check and they'll say, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's really, really great at not only mitigating all of that excess light, but sometimes giving them a little bit of an extra clarity boost, even in the planos, which is very cool. Let me switch out to the gray green. Here's the details on the specifications. So like I said, it's single use. It's a great material. It's not some like old school material that you're going to be like, that feels really bad. It's comfortable. It's a great size. It's going to fit a large majority of your patients. I'm not going to say everybody, because you're going to have weird oddball patients, but in general, it fits a really, really big demographic for you. And the power ranges, my only beef right now is that I wish I had plus power. So you guys need to fit this lens so I can get plus power for my patients. But as of right now, it's available in plano, -50 all the way up to -6, and quarter steps, which is fantastic. Go ahead and switch to the next slide, and I'll put on the gray green for you guys, which I'll tell you, with my blue eyes, looks a little bit more scary than just noticeable, I think. Obviously, the gray green is going to have a little bit less light transmission than the amber, right? So you can see how dark it is. Again, people are going to notice that they're on. I have a great guy for UCF football that has worn these to press conferences and done like they asked him questions about his lenses in different just regular like interviews about how he's doing, and it's been published. And he's not sponsored by ALTIUS. I wish he was, but he talks about the lenses and says, I would wear them every single day if I could. And he actually wears the gray greens. And I say that because you're going to see that in all of the information for the lenses, that some patients are going to be driven more towards one of the products than the other. And they made it really easy. Even on the box, like when you look at it, it even has little pictures of the sports that they're going to recommend for you to do with one versus the other. Although there's always a little bit of variability there, and everybody is an individual. And I always like to use sunglasses as the way to describe this. You know, you've got your neutral gray sunglasses, you've got your amber lenses, your more brown tint. And even though we know that you get the best contrast and everything out of a brown lens, some people are just going to want that neutral gray. Some people love a field tint lens, and some people don't like a field tint lens. So go with what you know. But if for some reason my patient doesn't love one, I tried the other one. So here's your spectrum. And for those of you that are not like super fresh on all of your optics and visible light transmission, if you look at like an Oakley prism lens, you could do like a road or a deep water that has like 11 to 12% transmissibility. That's really, or transmission that has a really, really dark tint. And then you go back to like your trail and your golf tints and your dark golf tints that I'm really a big fan of. They're going to be closer to the 30s. So you can see that your gray green is going to be a little bit more like the sunglass, but the amber is going to give really, really good light mitigation to where they still have excellent field of vision. It's not one of those lenses that the ones that change and get darker and lighter. I have dolphins, for example. We're so smart in our stadium where the opponents are in the sun and we're in the shade, but there are going to be times during the game where they cross from one to the other. I have players that wear both of these during the day or at night, not just because of filtering light, but the enhanced contrast, the enhanced vision that they get because they're reducing the chromatic aberrations with this tinted lens. All right, next slide. So backing up a little bit with performance vision, this is a great slide to take with you if you are going to go meet with someone, because people don't think about this. You have everyone saying eye-hand coordination, or usually they say hand-eye, right? It's like ingrained now that I say eye-hand or eye-foot. They just want to know what that motor response is, but you have to educate them that first you have to take in that visual information. You have to see it. And then you have to be able to use your cognitive skills. You have to perceive it. And a lot of that's going to be based on your previous experience, how fast you can decide to go versus no go. And then you have to make that motor response. So you can tell them how not only can you help their visual system directly, but by giving them a faster visual piece of information, they can then have that cognitive piece and that motor piece follow. And that's how you enhance not just vision, but overall performance. Next slide. The eyes lead the body. That was Blanton Collier, right? I think that said that back in the day. This is a very cool slide, by the way. Whoever made this, I am super impressed. And this is a really cool way to say what I just said. And I hope that we can all have access to this slide when we're going to give our spiels to all of our teams. Please let us use this slide. So we do know that vision is superior in elite performers. We know that it's the guiding sense for most human performance. You can't hit a ball if you can't see a ball. And, you know, they say keep your eye on the ball, and it's the truth. It's so cliche, but your visual system is imperative to performance. And then it's modifiable. That's the thing that people don't realize. They might think that what your vision is what you're stuck with, but not only can we test it, but we can enhance it as well. So this is the reason why I had a very confused call with one of my one of the ALTIUS team members when I was putting lenses on players for the first time, plano lenses, and then they were walking around going, "This is like HD vision." And then once you get the lenses on one person, they all want to put them on. They're very excited, and it spreads. But I was like, how are they seeing better, even though it's a plano lens? And it all comes down to reduced chromatic aberration. It's something that we take for granted, I think, because it's not something that we can normally correct. It's the same reason we have light scatter. Everybody, well, maybe not everybody, maybe it's a controversial topic, but a lot of people prescribe blue light filtering lenses. And the way I describe blue light filtering lenses to my patients is it's harder for the eyes to focus on certain wavelengths of light. They just hit and reflect differently. And if you've ever seen Christmas lights that are multicolored, and this is like the perfect time to talk about this, you might notice that all of the other lights look a little bit more concise, but the blue are always going to be a little bit more scattered. They're a little bit harder to focus on. So by using this tint, you're able to modify and reduce the way that the light is reflected and refracted, and everything comes together just so much tighter, and then can improve their visual clarity. They also do a fantastic job at masking sill. Like, for me, it's been crazy amounts. I know they're doing a lot of research to get better numbers than me just saying it happens, it's awesome. So stay tuned for that. Next slide. So these are just some of the examples of what they've pulled together in their tech research overview this past year. So they've found that the low handicap golfers perceive superior visual comfort on the green. Obviously, on the greens, we need to be able to really see what's going on in order to read the greens. But you can't have a polarized lens on, because then you can't read the greens, because that's exactly what polarization is blocking. So this is a way to enhance it without messing up that loss of contour, which is very cool. And then you have your professional goalkeepers. Again, there is no one that will be caught dead wearing sunglasses near a pitch. So this is fantastic for our other footballers, our soccer players. And then collegiate baseball players. They have worked with an entire team, and they were able to see that they had improvements in their batting statistics while wearing the lenses, which is awesome and something that you can share. And remember, we all have those patients. It's not just players that come in their uniforms. It's our weekend warriors. It's our pickleballers, you know, all these people that you can help. So I picked one case study that I wanted to talk about because it was a surprise to me. He was a pitcher. Again, low-hanging fruit. Like when you're new, pick something easy. Pitchers are not going to wear sunglasses. So I had done performance vision evals on Spencer in the past, and he did wear contact lenses already after seeing me. And he came in for his eval, and I said, "Why don't we try these lenses?" And it's one of those things where, for me, and everyone's different, this is a whole other lecture, you have to decide how many you're going to give them. I don't want to just have them try in the exam lane. I like to give them some and say, okay, wear them to practice, let me know how you do. So what surprised me is he not only was wearing them as a pitcher, but I don't know why I didn't even consider the fact that he was also a hitter, because a lot of the pitchers are just pitchers, but he did both. And I learned that he was wearing them for hitting, batting as well, because I had a new player come in and he was like, yeah, so I wanted to get the lenses that Spencer wears. And I was like, oh, fantastic. And he's like, yeah, do you know that he hasn't gotten a strikeout since he's been wearing the lenses? And the only time that he did get a strikeout was the day he didn't have them on. And I said, I need to go get these lenses. And he's now actually has been recruited up for a D1 program. But, you know, I even took for granted that they were going to improve his performance across the board, because I didn't even know that he was also batting. I thought he was just pitching. That's the only case study that I kind of put in here to talk about. But I also have a lot of great concussion ones. Those of you that know me really well, I usually say, if you're in my webinar, you should play like a drinking game. Every time Nanasy says concussion, take a shot, because it's arguably one of my favorite populations. And I had one patient that had a concussion the same week that I did when I had my concussion back in 2018. Her recovery was not as good as mine, unfortunately. And she came in to see me. It's been probably like 6 months ago now, and she can't even be in the waiting room because visual motion bothered her so much. Like she would just sit there like this, not wanting to see the ceiling fan that was above us. And I put these lenses on her, and then I went back to come find her, and I was like, where did Michelle go? And my tech was like, pointed out to the waiting room. And I went out there and she was just staring up at the ceiling fan with the ambers on. And I was like, you know, you look crazy, right? Because she was like, I can't believe I can do this. But so much more to learn about these lenses. And go ahead to the next slide. I hope that I've given you, you know, enough information for you to at least feel comfortable going out in your community and sharing your wealth of knowledge that you already have, and then potentially utilizing ALTIUS, not even just in your practice, but to bring in more people to your practice. It's something that I think our industry, as far as what I do with sports and concussion, we've needed for a long time, and I'm happy it's finally here. So with that, what questions do we have?
So thank you so much, Dr. Nanasy. That was an amazing presentation. Really, really appreciate it. A couple questions for you. The first one is going to be, what equipment and technology are essential for fitting sport or for sports vision testing and training?
I'm going to say your essential tools are the ones that you already have in your exam lane. So you're going to be refracting everyone. You're going to be using your near point stick to make sure that you get a good near point of convergence, checking their posture. Don't take for granted the fact that you can do a cover test on someone and say, oh, they're a little bit ESO, and then look at their auto even and say, oh, they have a little bit of plus that they've never had before, because they're not complaining because they have a crazy focusing system. And then say, what happens if I put this guy in some plus 50s? All of a sudden now he's ortho, but did that make a difference? Do a before and after stereo depth perception test. Like, those little things that you just have to connect the dots and say that I can improve their binocularity, which will then perform X, Y, and Z, and go down that tier of vision, and then cognition, and then eye hand. I could talk about some other tech that I really like. maybe offline. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or what I'm not allowed to say. I love different tools that can help with eye tracking. And the only reason I like that is because I can say, here's your before, and then I gave you some correction, and here's your after, but you don't need it.
Thank you so much. I have another one here. It says, what's the key message that you deliver to athletes that have never worn contact lenses and, are looking to maybe try ALTIUS?
I would say that that they have nothing to lose in trying it. You don't know what you don't know, and I know that you think that you are doing really well, but and God, this happens all the time with like pro athletes, especially because they're already good at what they do. And I'll tell you too, the last thing you want to do to an athlete is tell him he's broken. Don't tell him they've got something wrong with them if you can avoid it, because you don't want to give them a complex. But what you can say is, you're already pretty good at this, but what if I can give you something that would make you even better and enhance your vision? And I might even, if they're in my lane, or if I'm going to a team to meet them, you might even like carry around like a plus 50 or a plus 75 lens and have them look at something and say, can you still see it? Yes. But is it better now? Right? And give them the idea that things could be better than they even know. Light and dark is another way to describe it for people. If you say, hey, have you ever noticed that at night you have a little bit of harder time seeing than you do during the day? And you can kind of connect the dots there and say, if you have some prescription that's not corrected, you might notice that your vision is better during day than at night. But I can give you contacts to fix that. That's actually what happened with one of my footballers, one of my soccer players. Is they were fine during the day, but at night they were having a harder time. And it's just that they have nothing to lose. The worst case scenario is they don't like it and they go back to where they were. But what if it's not? What if it's better?
Awesome. And then I have another one. What symptoms of concussion and TBI are you fitting these contact lenses with, and which color for what symptoms or conditions?
That's a good question. I'll tell you that obviously light sensitivity for patients with concussions is huge. The one thing that, well, there's a few things, but my favorite thing about having ALTIUS as a tool is that I work with a lot of student athletes that the way that I run things, I don't expect for them to be in therapy with me for 6 months. I expect to give them correction, see them back in 2 weeks, and have their symptoms dramatically better. So I do very few prescriptions for tinted glasses, just because, again, I'm going to sell them something that this is going to work for you even after you're better, because your script is your script. It's just you didn't need it as much as you need it now. So if I can give them a pair of contact lenses that will help to mitigate that light for them and make them less light sensitive while they have the proper script, or even underneath a plano, underneath their glasses that I'm giving them. And when they're better, they don't have to wear them. Side note, maybe they will, because they're usually student athletes and they say, hey, can I wear these on the field? And that's another thing I say, I might prescribe these to you even if you didn't have the concussion, because it'll help you with performance, because it's kind of like wearing sunglasses while you're playing. So those are the really great reasons to use it, because it's temporary. They wear it as often as they need to, but they're not paying a bazillion dollars for something that only works for them for a short amount of time.
Awesome. So I
A
have another
bazillion.
question here.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It says, how do we become ALTIUS providers and get a fitting set? I can take this one from you, Dr. Nanasy.
Okay.
So we are exclusively available through ABB Optical right now. One thing I'd like to hammer home is that these lenses are not sold online. They're only available through participating eye care practitioners. What that means for your practice, you're not going to get an ALTIUS patient and then them call 1-800 contact lenses after you put all your hard work into getting them fit. If you get that patient, they're going to be yours and you don't have to worry about that. In the slide following this Q&A slide, we will have contact information listed for you. If you're looking to become a provider, we're happy to speak with you. Send us an email and we'll get back to you tomorrow. Another question we have for you, Dr. Nanasy, is what color tends to be better for TBI?
Ooh, I will tell you it's a mixed bag. I I like to go with less. So I would tend to go to the amber just because if I'm trying to get them back to their normal situation, I don't want to give them too much, right? And obviously, like you saw, you're not going to get as much visible light transmission through the gray green. So I would prefer the amber, but if it's not enough, then I'll go to the gray green.
Awesome. It looks to be that those are all of our questions. Any last second questions for Dr. Nanasy? Has this been helpful for visual snow?
Do you know, I haven't personally used these for visual snow, but I believe that Charles Shidlovsky is using some different tints for visual snow. And I don't want to say for sure if he is or he's not, but I am fairly certain that he is also a provider. So it's information that I would, whoever asked that question, Josh, I can find out more specifics and get information back for that provider.
Okay, awesome. I'll make sure to note them down and reach out to them when we have that answer. Again, Dr. Nanasy, thank you so much for an incredible presentation. That looks to be all of the questions for today. Fernando, if you could just go to the next slide for me. So again, we wanted to extend our deepest gratitude for you all taking the time to attend this webinar. If you found this interesting and would like to learn more, sign up for our future webinars. The next one that we have is going to be January 31st. It's centered around the medical applications for ALTIUS and some interesting things happening in the coding and billing of it. Like I said, Fernando, next slide. If any of you are interested in finding out more, have any other questions for us, this is our email. It's going to be performance.vision@altiusvision.com. Please feel free to reach out to us. Like I said, our team has a plethora of marketing resources, both available and being developed. Some of them are quite good. We will even custom tailor them to your practice and its needs. So please reach out to us. For all of you who came, this is recorded. We will be sending out this webinar to all of you who attended. So once again, just thank you so much on behalf of myself, the ALTIUS team, Dr. Nanasy. What a wonderful webinar. So much value for us tonight and really thrilled to have you on.
Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for being a great resource for us, and best of luck to everyone. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out to me at ananasy@sportsvisionpros.com. I would love to cheer you guys on in your journey and help you out any way I can.
Awesome. Well, with that, I'm not going to hold you folks any longer. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your week. And again, thank you so much.